So next comes the Future of Banking panel. While we do the changeover for panel, please try and grab some seats. I can see quite a few spare seats here. You don't all have to stand. There's some seats on this side. If you don't move across, we're going to lean over in the building. So now the next panel. The panel is actually being led by Sebastian Baerhold, who was founder of the now famous Amiando. So I think I've been to more events that Sebastian's company has organized. Sebastian, I think you probably managed millions of identities through the Amiando platform over time. So it's probably no one better to do this. But he's now the CEO of IDnow, which scans holograms to help companies in the digital world. I'm going to hand it over to you, Sebastian. Please gather your panel.
Hi. Hello. Hi. Good to see you. So, I'm Mauro. Mauro. I put it down because I don't like to have the background on the panel.
Okay. Go ahead and start.
Yeah. Thomas Power.
Thomas, leap to the stage, Thomas. Tweeting.
Okay. Yes, hello everyone. Very glad that after lunch there's a full packed room here upstairs. And we are going to talk about the future of banking, how digital, how distributed ledger technology and artificial intelligence will lead the way in banking. And I have 4 panelists on stage that I would like to introduce real quick, and then they will also give a brief introduction themselves. We have here Thomas Powers from Thomson Reuters, from 9 Spokes. We have Sam Chadwick from Thomson Reuters. We have Mauro Casellini from Bank Frick, and we have Markus Locher from Credit Suisse. And maybe you can start and give a brief introduction about yourself just for 1 minute so that everybody knows what you're doing.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you. Thank you for the invitation. I work for a New Zealand software company called 9 Spokes. We're based in Auckland. We're 120 people, and we supply the bank's white label platform for their small businesses. All of the banks that we supply around the world are very interested in tokenizing the relationship with their small businesses, so that's why we're here to learn. I asked Charles Hoskinson from Cardano his point of view, and he said most of the banks are now approaching him to talk about how they want to tokenize the relationship with their small businesses and SMEs. So we're here to learn how that works.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sam Chadwick. I work at Thomson Reuters, and I'm in the innovation team. My responsibilities are for our blockchain strategy, digital identity, crowdfunding, and artificial intelligence increasingly. That's my day job, and by night I work with Oliver, who you just heard from, as a board member of the Crypto Valley Association.
Hello together, I'm Mauro Casellini, head of blockchain and payment service providers at Bank Frick, and I'm the responsible guy for all the blockchain, crypto, DLT things we are going on at Bank Frick at the moment.
Okay. Hello, I'm Markus Locher. I lead the strategy and projects group for Credit Suisse in Switzerland, and as part of that we obviously also look at blockchain, AI, open banking, everything that we are also excited about here in this room.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Myself, I'm Sebastian, and yes, as already mentioned, co-founder and managing director of IDnow. And so we start with the first question, and I think everybody wants to know how DLT and AI affects the banking industry at most. I mean, it is out set to revolutionize the banking industry, and so I would like to know what do you think? What are the areas most affected by DLT and AI? And maybe, if possible, you can separate the bit two, because they're quite different technologies. So Thomas, do you want to start?
Okay, so all the banks we work with all have a DLT project, a blockchain project. and they all have an AI project. Starting with the blockchain project, most of the people in the room, many of the people in this room will have some kind of small business, some kind of private business where they put their professional services through outside of their corporate role, if they have a corporate role as well. Currently, the banks have no incentive system, no token, no way of motivating a relationship with a small business. No reward for engaging, no reward for connecting apps, no reward for sharing data, no reward on really pushing their cash flow information around their invoicing and credit control to the bank. So all the banks are trying to work out how to tokenize that relationship and motivate the small businesses to engage more in that relationship with them. That's a big challenge for the banks because they've never had to do that before. They've just been the money manager, and they've never had to create motivation and incentive to engage. On the AI front, the challenge the banks have is generally when they're doing the transactions, they're only involved in the final transaction of what is paid and being paid, either to suppliers or to clients. They don't know the wraparound events that lead up to an invoice and post an invoice. So they're trying to get more data in, analyze it faster, so they can provide more of an alert notification services to their small businesses and larger businesses using AI. And most of them, in my experience, tend to be talking to the AWS team, the Google AI team, the Amazon team, the Slack team, all of which have an AI team. And from my experience of seeing all those presentations, they're all trying to figure it out how. So I would say it's all very experimental right now, but the tokenization of the relationship, that's top of the agenda on most of the boardrooms I've seen in the banks.
So I would say for blockchain, there are 3 key areas that our clients are focused on. The first is using distributed ledger, not necessarily blockchain, but distributed ledger in general, as a means of cutting costs. It's going to be the first time where you can eliminate quite a bit of the back office cost by having what is effectively a shared service between organizations. So numerous of our customers are experimenting across lots of different assets. Where we are seeing the biggest pickup is actually in the instruments that trade with high value but low volume. So that's things like private equity, venture capital, syndicated loans, et cetera, right? So it's not in the foreign exchange or public equities markets because, to be honest, the technology doesn't scale to that yet. So that's group 1. Group 2 is the use of smart contracts for cross-business unit or cross-organizational business logic to be applied. I think Oliver touched on that a little bit earlier. This takes a heck of a lot of work around creating consortia and getting agreement, which, to be honest, banks aren't particularly good at. It's very hard to form a consortium between organizations that compete with one another. So we are often in the middle of that as an independent player. That's sort of the second one. And the third one is actually crypto as a new asset class. So we've seen a couple of news stories come out, but there's a lot more that I'm under NDA, so I can't talk about it, but of banks or financial institutions setting up crypto trading desks. So they're seeing this as a new asset class and even talking about creating a diversified portfolio and what percentage of somebody's portfolio should be held in crypto. So those are the 3 major areas that we're seeing people are focused on.
And I, from Bank Frick itself, see it even on a bigger picture, because for me, we are actually standing exactly at the point before a financial revolution, because banks didn't change the last 50 years. They're doing exactly the same. And if we look at, for example, how a SWIFT network, a payment network works, it's horrible, it's slow, it's intransparent, it's not safe. Some banks block money that shouldn't be allowed to do it. And if we have a DLT technology that is put on it, that with regulated entities can send money from A to B, that's definitely much better. And I see really that this will change a lot. The whole banking industry will change, how actually stock exchange works. Why don't we work with a blockchain? Why is not everyone or every bank able to hold the stocks they have for their clients by themselves in an HSM solution. Why should they have it all stored in Switzerland in SIS, for example? It's not transparent, it's not safe. And on the other side, if we go further with AI, if we really have a working payment system on a blockchain, we can work with AI, find out any anti-money laundering much easier if there is a problem, if there is some bad money involved. From my point of view, banking will change a lot in the next years, and that's because of DLT and AI.
Yeah, I think I'm actually glad that you took apart DLT and AI, because when preparing for the panel, I was like, yeah, how would I weave that together? On the DLT side, I think we're looking at two interesting things that pick up what was said before. One is the more, like how we use that as an infrastructure, how to drive down a cost, be faster, be more efficient. And then the other thing, which is maybe almost a bit more exciting, but more difficult to get to, is like really use it as a means to develop new business models. So we talked about tokenization of relationships or components of it in the SME space, or we saw pictures of smart containers just very recently that they not only need to be chilled and insured, they also need to be financed. And so I think that's the two sides we're looking at, and we're trying to have a project portfolio that covers both sides.
I realized I didn't cover AI.
That's okay.
I could just be very quickly on two things. So where our clients are focused on AI predominantly is financial crime and trade surveillance. Because those are the things that are real thorns in their side and cost them a heck of a lot of money when they get it wrong.
Okay, thank you. Coming to the last statement of Markus, so what are completely new business models? So what kind of transformative force can DLT and AI have? So that would be my next question. So and of course, if possible, be as specific as possible about maybe one example where you see the most transformative power of those technologies in the banking area.
Well, yeah, let me start with the like a maybe very plausible example, the containers that we just saw. So far, you can have a letter of credit. Probably if you finance a tanker of containers, very relevant, or you just do that open account. And in the middle, there wasn't actually anything that could help you. And if you can put concepts like that on a blockchain, there is obviously far more you can just do that was just not done before. Or the tokenization has many aspects to it. If you really build ecosystems between your clients and companies that maybe aren't even clients, that there is, again, need to finance many of the things that move around. So it's no longer that value chain that was described before, where banks are just at the very end when you have to settle a payment, but it's really becoming part of a larger ecosystem.
What I really like, what we're working on somehow is, for example, asset management on the blockchain, to bring a blockchain out that is fully regulated, that I have to white label myself, that everyone in the blockchain knows exactly by code what I'm able to buy, what I'm allowed to buy, and what I should buy. And therefore, I can look at a portfolio of 100 funds, 50 stocks and whatever, and I'm able to buy them, and they are fully transparent. I can see exactly what they are buying. Not like actually now I buy some SMI fund from Swissquote or whatever, but I don't see exactly which stocks are involved. They only tell me it's more or less this. But with the blockchain solution, you can make a token, you can look in, every asset is tokenized, and you can check it exactly what's in it. And for example, Melonport is working on that concept, and it's really great what they're doing, and I really like it. And yes, that's one example what we're working on.
Lots of different things to talk about here, because obviously Google have got all my data and Facebook have got all my data, and now we know the extent of the data that they have, and obviously we permission them all to have it. And they're both pretty useless at sorting out the stream into my life, both of them. I would like to be able to publish that data to my banks. All of my Google data, all of my Facebook data, all of my Twitter data. I'm very surprised they haven't done it so far. So that's one thing in terms of publishing your personal user experience and your business user experience of all of your behavior habits back into the banks. I'm surprised neither Google or Facebook have sold it to them or permissioned it, or the banks have asked to buy it, because then they could get a true profile. But from what I see, the banks are now becoming very interested in crypto, in tokens and wallets, and the purchase of those. So they'd like to see KYC and AML on a one-click, like an Amazon Pay one-click, but you get an instant verification. Whether that comes from the banks or a startup or a combination, or they invest in the ideas of a new startup that does that, that seems to be very, very popular. But if you see how poorly Google use AI, and Amazon use AI, and Facebook use AI, and Twitter use AI, and LinkedIn use AI, and they've got the data, I think we're hoping for a lot from the banks on the AI front right now. Because I think Google, Facebook, Amazon, LinkedIn, Twitter are really poor right now with their AI, with my feed, with my stream, both at business and at work, and my mobile and my desktop. They're still a long way to go, and they've got the data. So it's a long time before we see some real value on AI from the banks. But I do think the banks have got to forge a much deeper relationship with the data providers, or come direct to us and say, can I take your data from Google and Facebook and Twitter and bring that into my experience so I can deliver you more value? And can I tokenize that? Can I motivate you with tokens to share your Google profile with RBS tokens or Barclays tokens or NatWest tokens or UBS tokens? Because I'll give all my data if they tokenize it and make it an experience that I can exchange for other products around the world. But that conversation hasn't yet reached the boardroom, that a lot of consumers are motivated to share their data if they're rewarded, if they can consume other things with those tokens.
All right, this may be a bit controversial. I mean, so listening to most of the pitches, not necessarily just from today, but in general in the space, they're not actually creating new business models at all. All they're doing is saying, here's an existing model that I'm now going to do on the blockchain. That's great, but if you're not using the guarantees that a blockchain provides you that other technology doesn't, then you haven't created anything new. So when I talk with startups and banks who love throwing blockchain at things because it means that they get funding internally, as opposed to other projects which don't get any funding. If you do it on the blockchain, we're going to get it funded, even if we didn't need a blockchain. I asked them three things, right? Are you taking advantage of the three guarantees? Right? The guarantee that the data is going to be available to you, because it's decentralized, so nobody can hide it away from you. Number two, that data is immutable. And number three, that you have guaranteed computation, i.e. if you're running a smart contract, you're not reliant on a single party that might not be there tomorrow to run it. And if you're not taking advantage of those three guarantees, you are overpaying for the technology solution that you're applying. And I can see lots of heads nodding in the audience. So this is really important, because if this, I think, means that actually, if you have a look at inflection, what are the new business models? We haven't seen many yet, if any, really, of people taking advantage of those three guarantees to provide something meaningfully different that couldn't be done if you just trusted a centralized party. And I know people love bashing the banks, but in the end, you're either going to sell to them, you're going to get acquired by them, or you're going to compete with them. So 2 out of those 3 options mean that you should actually like the banks. So think about that when you think about new business models, and are you really creating something new? And to be honest, I haven't seen anything that's materially different, but other than just a regular business model on the blockchain.
Yeah. Thank you. Still coming back to even applying existing business models and how they can be changed or enhanced by those technologies. What in your view are the top 1 or 2 obstacles before those technologies can actually substitute existing technologies now in certain areas of a bank? I mean, maybe the bankers start.
I think a very important part is exactly where your company comes in, the identification or KYC AML of clients. Because at the moment, it's the ICOs come there, I register myself, put in my address, need to make a video ID. For every ICO, I need to make this video. It's really complicated. It costs a lot of money for the ICO. Why don't we go for a digital identification that I can bring down? And that's exactly a question back to you. Is your company working on something like that?
Yes, I mean, thanks for the opportunity. Just a very, very brief statement. Yes, so we first work on easier ways than a video identification, of course. So it's rather automated, probably not one click, but rather highly automated and fast photo-based identification. And also we were working on reusing identifications. However, this is not very easy because a lot of regulators prevent us from doing so. So that's also here be a regulatory question.
Maybe I go next only because I'm following on the topic of identity, and this is in the artificial intelligence space. If any of you have tried any of this tech, then quite a lot of it relies on information extraction from unstructured text. And if you're performing that, then you need to actually identify the entities that you're extracting. So Cisco acquires some company, your machine has to recognize that that's Cisco and some company and that an acquisition happened, right? Otherwise, the text you're extracting is meaningless and you can't really do any AI with it. So what we ended up doing was creating a service called PermID. It's available for anybody at permid.org, and it's a 64-bit string that is assigned to all public entities, instruments, people, etc., that you can use in your AI experiments and production systems that enables you to identify entities.
Okay, I just saw the sign, so we are running out of time already. So I don't know if we have time for some questions from the audience. Yes, I see we have, so happy to take some more questions.
Where is the microphone ninja? It's me. Raise your hand, who is it? Please say who you are and your question.
Sure. Hi, my name is Malcolm Flack. My question is more geared towards, I think, Mr. Chadwick about tokenizing small businesses for banks. Oh, sorry. So you were talking about a reward structure, either one of you, I guess. Yeah. But anyways, yeah, you were talking about a reward structure that you could do by tokenizing for these small businesses. Were you thinking that's more of a claim on revenue or product or something to that effect, or what exactly do you think that reward would be?
Well, I think when you first engage with your bank as a small business, you have to set your account up. You've got to go through your AML and KYC. You've got to do all of those things. That's quite laborious, both on mobile app and on desktop. Sometimes you have to go into the branch. Sometimes you have to take passports, utility bills, and so on. All of that is a pain. So I see all of that as motivated by tokens to get over that pain. Then once you're on board, you're then going to start connecting your apps into your dashboard, your Zero, your Sage, your Intuit, your Google, your Facebook, your Twitter, so that you can motivate all of those apps to be connected so you can run your business on your dashboard. I see all of that as incentivized by tokens. And then I think beyond that, you've got a lot of small businesses who still run their businesses on Excel or Google Sheets and have no desire to upgrade to Zero or Intuit or Sage or Free Agent or one of the accounting apps. So that needs tokenizing, otherwise they'll never upgrade. So I can see tokens for that. So any form of data sharing, we see tokens for that. And then beyond that, you've got other reasons why you might want to have tokens to bring in your friends to that particular bank, to run events, to take part in events, to push the education and the motive of using that particular supplier to everybody in your network. But the blockage area I see is on the identity. Up until last week, we kind of trusted Facebook with our identity. And I like to think we still do, although obviously there's rumors of what's going to happen to Facebook proliferating very quickly. But the identity we've chosen to give it to Facebook and Google primarily, a little bit of Twitter and a little bit of LinkedIn, it seems to make sense to me that ultimately the KYC and the AML is going to be held in there, that they will not let anybody take that data war, identity war away from them. So I don't know whether that's going to be a relationship between the social platforms and the banking platforms, because right now that's quite hard to roadmap into the future. So I don't know on identity where the tokens will reside. Will we have GooCoin, Facecoin, Amazon, Tweetcoin, or will we have the banking equivalents? That's the bit to me that's blurry, grey. But we do need a solution there because we have trusted our data to those 4 data providers, our identity. So it's natural for that to be KYC and AML follow on. Sorry, such a long answer. But if I knew it better, I'd say it. And he's Mr. Chadwick.
Thank you. I'm afraid we don't have any more time for any other questions because we're running a little bit late. Would you mind wrapping up your panel?
Yes, thank you very much. So I think as we saw, there are many interesting approaches. However, still very early the adoption of those technologies. So it will be very interesting to see what are the first real mainstream use cases within banking. I think in AI we have seen some applications in the trading sector already. But for DLT, certainly we have to wait for the first big mainstream projects of the banks. And so yes, thank you very much all, and thank you for the panelists. Yes, have a good day. Bye bye.
Thank you very much.